Hello everybody, Ellie here for WhoCulture, and it is officially Christmas time. We now have a trailer for Joy to the World, so we can really start getting in the Christmas spirit and get excited for 5 p.m. on Christmas Day. But just before we get into the full breakdown of the trailer, I just want to give you my initial thoughts about it. It really had a magical, fun vibe to it, and it did feel very Christmassy. I think the music definitely helped with that. And I'm sure I've mentioned this, but obviously the Christmas special for Doctor Who is something that I've always grown up with. It's only in recent times that we've not had them, so it's just inherently Christmas for me. So we open with the Doctor at the Time Hotel. We can actually see that that's what it's called on the desk in the lobby, I guess. Instantly in that lobby, we can see people from different time periods. We have a 1940s nurse and soldier. We have people that look like they're from the kind of Renaissance period. We have members of some sort of tribe. Later on, we have some Tudors in the corridor as well. And it's explained by Joel Fry, who is playing a character called Trev Simpkins, who clearly is a Time Hotel employee based on what he's wearing. He states that they're doing a special, Christmas everywhere all at once. Why does that make me think of Everything Everywhere All at Once? I don't think it's going to be quite the same vibe, although maybe. Now, we've already spoken in previous videos about this idea of the hotel rooms that lead to different points in history, and the hotel basically trying to sell out all the unsold rooms throughout its history. And this moment here basically serves to confirm this concept for the episode. Also, can we just take a moment to appreciate how great that set looks? The hotel set looks amazing, and those costumes, even if they're only seen briefly of people walking down the corridors, they look amazing as well. All the different time periods, it really catches my eye. I really like it. I don't doubt that there might be a cheeky nod to the very first Doctor story, An Unearthly Child, which saw the first Doctor and his companions encounter a tribe of cavemen. And if you look in this trailer, we do see some cavemen. So I bet that we're probably going to see even more historical Easter eggs and hints to past Doctor Who stories within this episode, because it's the perfect way to do that, because the Doctor has visited so many points in history. Also, this just demonstrates how far back in time these hotel rooms can actually go. You know, we've got cavemen guests. We know from the Children in Need clip that we saw that there's dinosaurs involved. So it's basically feasible that within this hotel, you can visit pretty much any point in history. So we also have a shot of the sonic screwdriver on the TARDIS console. We have a theory about the fact that this sonic screwdriver is pink rather than the blue that we've been seeing. The different colour sonic screwdriver might actually relate to whether the episode is set in the past or in the future. Now, this has already been done in Russell T Davies's first era of Doctor Who, when the time vortex, when shown on screen with the TARDIS flying through it, not in the title sequence but within the actual episodes, depending on what colour the time vortex was, would equate to whether the TARDIS was travelling into the past or into the future. So if the time vortex was blue, then the TARDIS was travelling into the past. But if the time vortex was red, then the TARDIS was travelling into the future. So we theorise that the sonic is pink because the episode is set in the past. There are moments that are set in history. If you take a look at season 1, the only other times we've seen the pink sonic screwdriver was in Rogue and The Devil's Cord, both episodes which were set in the past. So cool as crazy, but I think we may have cracked the code. We then have a repeat clip that we'd already seen previously, where the Doctor was bursting through the different rooms with the cheese toastie and the pumpkin latte, this one on the Orient Express. There are a few repeated clips in this trailer that we have previously seen already, such as Joy getting out of the taxi, the pumpkin latte situation. We do have a few repeated shots and some clips from season 1 as well. So we have a shot of the Doctor jacketing up, getting his jacket back on, getting back out there. So I'm guessing that maybe at the start of the episode, he's just relaxing, maybe feeling a bit sorry for himself, and perhaps is even just a guest at the Time Hotel. And this seems like the moment where he's like, right, enough's enough, let's get back in the game. Perhaps this episode is going to show an element of the kind of post-companion depression, where Joy basically sets it to be her mission to sort of snap him out of it, snap him out of the gloominess and the moping that he might be doing since Ruby left. Now, we have seen a lot of kind of post-companion departure episodes. Think about the runaway bride, the snowmen, the return of Dr. Mysterio. So I kind of think that Ruby's departure is definitely going to be weighing on the Doctor, at least at the beginning of this episode. And to be honest, I kind of like that idea. I feel like it might be a bit weird if we were to just jump straight into this episode and he'll be all happy and adventure-y and kind of ignore the fact that he just lost his best friend. But on that same note, I wouldn't be surprised if we did have a cameo from Ruby at some point in the episode, like we had a cameo from Amy Pond at the end of The Doctor, the Widow and the Wardrobe. I don't think she'll feature in the episode for any extended period of time, but I wouldn't rule out a little cameo perhaps at the end of the episode or in some way. So we also have a shot of what looks to be a futuristic London. Now you can clearly see this is the skyline of London. You've got the River Thames there, you can see Tower Bridge. We have holographic billboards, we have a floating sort of road high up in the air. If you look, one of those floating holograms looks to say Time Hotel, so it would suggest that these hotel rooms don't just go into the past, but potentially go into the future as well. Then we have, probably my favourite part, I don't know, 15 basically channeling his inner Indiana Jones. You know, running along the train, getting onto the top of the train and tossing a rope like he is fully embracing Indiana Jones as his guru at this moment in time. And it actually does feel quite reminiscent of the opening scene in Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny, which obviously involved time travel, spoiler alert. And that only came out in 2023, so I do wonder if Stephen Moffat perhaps took a little bit of inspiration from Indiana Jones. You know, this whole Indiana Jones vibe continues later on in the trailer as well, when you've got that whole cave situation, and it does feel very much like the Doctor embodied his inner Indiana Jones. And then probably the biggest part of this trailer that everyone's been talking about, we have 2 Doctors, 15th Doctors. Just to clarify, we don't have David Tennant popping up again, thank God. Please don't take that the wrong way. I love David Tennant, he's my favourite Doctor, but let the poor man rest, okay? But we do have 2 15s. So I think this definitely seems to be a case of a future version and a current version of the Doctor crossing paths as they move through all these points in history. It's kind of an inevitability if you're travelling through all these points in history and trying to solve a problem. What I find quite funny is the current Doctor keeps asking questions to which the future Doctor just keeps saying, "You'll find out." And this very much feels like a nod back to Stephen Moffat's first foray into the Whoniverse when he wrote the comedy sketch for Comic Relief, The Curse of Fatal Death. And in that sketch, although it was kind of staged more as a comedy thing, whenever the logic of a situation was questioned, the response would always be, "I'll explain later." And it definitely had those sort of vibes to it, although in this situation it doesn't seem like a comedy thing, it definitely seems like a more serious thing, and you can see that by the reaction from the current Doctor getting very frustrated with his future self for not just giving him some straight answers. And then we have that outburst from him where he kind of talks about the consequences of him being mysterious all the time, and this is why people leave him and why he's always alone.
Why do they always change their minds at the last moment?
I'll explain later.
If you remember in the last video that we posted, I was talking about something that Stephen Moffat had teased in the latest edition of SFX magazine, where he wanted the Doctor to be more mean. And I do wonder if this is the point that he's making reference to. Either the future version is deliberately being unhelpful and arrogant, in which case he's being mean to his past self, or the current version kind of lashing out in frustration at his future self is the mean version that we're going to be seeing. But either way, I think the kind of 2 Doctor situation is where we're going to see that mean streak. As I mentioned in the last video I did, I've been watching a lot of the Peter Capaldi episodes, and I think sometimes when the Doctor is arrogant and mean to other people, it doesn't quite gel well with me. But to see him irritating and being mean to himself, that could be quite interesting. It definitely seems like this special, and perhaps moving into season 2, we're going to see a bit more exploration of the Doctor's perhaps curiosity and frustration about not knowing where he comes from. Obviously that was touched upon in season 1, the whole idea of him being a foundling, but perhaps he might start to think about that a bit more, especially now that Ruby's left, and perhaps developing a bit of a fear about being alone and wanting to learn more about who he is and where he's from, and to feel more of a connection, particularly now that Ruby has left. I mentioned earlier the shot of the Doctor going into the cave, and it felt very Indiana Jones, but also you'll notice that he has a little kind of handheld hologram of Joel Fry's character. Now, I don't know about you, but I'm getting the kind of vibe that he's going to appear nice, Joel Fry's character is going to appear nice, but may actually secretly be the bad guy. I don't know, I'm just getting this vibe about it. But then at the same time, in this particular clip, he's the one helping the Doctor, so we could be wrong about that. I don't know. my instincts say don't trust him. Also in the hotel, we get glimpses of some of the hotel doors, and one of them is a circular one behind the Doctor, and it looks exactly like the doors to the Hobbit houses in the Shire in The Lord of the Rings. Whether that's intentional or not, I don't know, but let's just say it is, and say that there's going to be a crossover with Hobbits. And then also we have some other doors as well. We have one that's kind of very old and weathered in a TARDIS blue kind of colour. Then we have a more modern looking wooden door as well. I just really like this attention to detail. It seems like even the doors to the hotel rooms reflect the time period that they lead to. I really like this concept. Then we have Joy to the World coming up on screen. So definitely wasn't a mistake made by the Disney Doctor Who marketing team when we had this whole hoo-ha about it a couple of weeks ago. Or maybe it was a mistake at that point and maybe they got confused about what was the title and what was the tagline, but it's definitely a tagline in the trailer here. But yes, clearly this wasn't an out-and-out error made. It wasn't a typo. There is something going on here that is to do with worlds. My money would be on, it's Christmas everywhere, all at once. They're visiting a lot of worlds with Joy. Joy is there with the Doctor visiting lots of worlds, so Joy is going to the worlds. Ha! Now behind the Doctor and Trev, we can see a name, possibly a company name, I'm not entirely sure, but it's on the wall. It's cut off, but in promotional pictures, you can see the full word, and it is De Tambles. Now Henry De Tamble is the name of the male lead in The Time Traveller's Wife, which was a big inspiration for some of Stephen Moffat's previous Doctor Who episodes, such as The Girl in the Fireplace. This whole idea of two people meeting out of time. Think River Song. The best character. And also Stephen Moffat did his own adaptation for HBO in 2022. So clearly it's still in his mind here. He couldn't resist putting a little Easter egg there into Joy to the World. And it fits with the whole theme of this episode as well, of stepping into different points in time and perhaps meeting people in different points in time, maybe out of order. So I like that. I like that reference. Now, I don't know if this is actually an intentional thing or not, but as someone who is a big fan of Disney parks and Disney in general, I'm a big fan of hidden Mickeys. I love to search for a hidden Mickey, and I just so happened to pause the trailer just as those fireworks were exploding, and calling it now, folks, that is a hidden Mickey right there. I'm pointing at you, but what I meant to point out was the hidden Mickey, which I'm hoping is on the screen somewhere. That is a hidden Mickey, and you can't tell me otherwise. Hidden Mickey, right there, calling it. Then, of course, straight after the hidden Mickey, we have a man who seems to be burning up. Now, my theory is that this has something to do with that star seed that was mentioned in that Children in Need clip. Based on what we know about the episode so far, this seems like the most likely option here. The star seed seems to be burning him up in some way, or perhaps he's a creature who feeds off of that energy. I'm not sure, but that's my guess. It's the star seed. Clearly they want you to think that it's a regeneration. It does look like regeneration. It's got that whole orange fiery vibe going on, but you ain't fooling us. No, that is not a regeneration. Although, to be fair, with the whole timeless child situation, that could be a version of the Doctor we haven't met yet. But I'm pretty certain that is not the case. Also, regeneration doesn't work like that. You don't just disappear when the flames come. So, nice try, but no. It's not a regeneration. But overall, I think they've done a pretty good job marketing this. They've given some things away without giving too much away. I have seen some people suggesting that having the two Doctors in the trailer is too spoilery, but I think they gave us enough for us to get intrigued without really telling us anything that's going on. I still have no idea really what the concept is of the... I have an idea of the concept, but I still have no idea what the plot of this episode is going to be. So I think they've done pretty well. But I want to know what you think. Let me know in the comments down below what your theories are, what your thoughts on the trailer are. And remember to be kind to people. Some people might have a different opinion to you, and that's absolutely fine. Let's not all start arguing in the comments. Let's have some Christmas cheer. In the meantime, I've been Ellie for WhoCulture, and in the words of River Song herself, goodbye, sweeties.